All right, mic check, 1 2 1 2. Let's get a mic check, 1 2 1 2, real quick.
I have zero clue that Dave knows going on.
Okay.
Okay, let's
These are my work clothes.
Okay, so 18 minutes and 20 seconds. We're gonna get stream going here. What is this? Okay, all right, so we got the stream going right now. Okay, so let's begin. Obviously, today is October the 6th, okay, 2025. Do you guys remember where you were when Khabib fought Conor McGregor? Because till this day, it's still the biggest fight in MMA history, right? In terms of pay-per-view numbers. There is no fight that was bigger than that. And guess what? Years later, what came out of that? Conor McGregor became a cokehead. Conor McGregor became a lesser version of himself. Khabib became a statesman coach, uplifting all of his fighters into championship levels. Meanwhile, John Kavanagh, SBG Ireland, the gym of Conor McGregor, is nowhere to be found in the international scenes of championship level MMA. Not in Bellator, not in the UFC, and not in the PFL. Yo, what's going on? Shout outs to Yoho La Aliman. Let me know if I pronounce that correctly. Good morning to you, my man. Hope you're having a good day. I hope you're going to enjoy this epic live stream that we are going to provide for you today, right? Because we're going to get a little bit nostalgic. Now, obviously, the other aspect of this is the Alex Pereira fight with Ankalaev, in which he KO'd him this weekend. Obviously, we're going to talk about that because, believe it or not, it's sort of significant to this story as well. It sort of ties into a lot of anti-Islamic rhetoric that goes on online. Now, look, here's something you guys have to understand, right? There are two cultures of MMA. There's the gym culture, which, by the way, is very wholesome, very family friendly, very welcoming, at least for the most part, depending on what kind of gym you go to. But for the most part, most MMA gyms are very inclusive. On top of that, very welcoming to almost everybody, right? So it's a very good vibe and a very real scenario that goes on in MMA gyms, in boxing gyms, in combat sports gyms, right? It's as real as it gets. The genuine personalities that are in there are real, right? The genuine expressions are real because, let's be honest about this, you're in there with a room full of killers that can absolutely do anything to you at any time. And if you have enough skills yourself, you as well can also do a thing or two with them, and they know that. So there's a little bit of humility that comes with that. So that's the other side of MMA culture. The other side of MMA culture is promotion, banter, trash talking, okay? And these things are highly marketable in the world of MMA, and this is where Conor McGregor comes in. Now, Alex Pereira, on the other hand, though, even though we are sort of transitioning from the Conor McGregor era into the Alex Pereira era in terms of who is the most popular fighter, right? Not necessarily who's the best fighter, but who is the most popular fighter. There's a contrasting opposite between Conor and Alex Pereira, isn't there? Thinking about it. For example, we often give the mystique of Alex Pereira as somebody who is very stoic, right? Doesn't really BS a lot. Doesn't really have a lot of these highly emotional expressions the way that Conor McGregor did during the lead up to the Khabib and the McGregor fight. You know what? I want to play a little bit of the press conference that had gone on during that time, right? I think it's important to sort of give a bit of some context in where we were during that time, Okay. Okay. And what's interesting about this conference is that this was the real press conference because of the fact that during fight week, they weren't able to really have a proper, like press conference. Conor McGregor was injured. He didn't even wear a suit. Thinking about it in hindsight, right? Which, by the way, kind of explains why he says my foot was a balloon, right? He looked like he was just coming out of a gym. He had a tank top on. He had one of those fedora hats to sort of look at least halfway decent, right? But just nothing but sweats and, yeah, a white tee, a tank top, and that was it, right? But in this one, for the New York press conference that they did, I mean, they absolutely showed up for that one. Right, okay, so here's the thing. There was no crowd in that, which was interesting. There was no crowd in that. Let's go back to that back in 2018. Let's go relive back in time and see what that world was like during that time frame. So here we go.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for coming. Just to remind you, UFC 229, Khabib versus McGregor is sold out, but it is live on.
Look how slim Khabib and Conor was back in that time. Obviously, within their fighting weight limits. So
On pay-per-view.
I came back for the love of this, to come and shut this man up. A little rat, a little weasel, a little hard man in groups. I've met many of them through my years. A man who grows in numbers, but on his own, and when confronted in a similar situation, cowers away. And that's what you saw with that little on the bus over there. He his jokes after doing something to his own countryman. That had nothing got to do with anything. And that's it. I came back to the love of fighting and the love of war. And this I am going to truly, truly love. Putting a bad beating on this little glass jaw rat.
I'm come here for smash this guy. I don't
Smash
wanna
me,
talk.
mate.
I
Smash me.
don't wanna. I
Yeah,
don't wanna.
smash me.
I can
You say send location. Here it is, right here in front of you. I'm right in front of you.
I think it's gonna be long night for him. It's gonna be long night.
Yes.
He
Oh
know this.
Lord, save me that.
He know this. He know this. I stay relaxed. I don't feel nothing. I know I have location.
I stay on bus.
6
I stay on
October.
bus.
6 October.
In the bus.
Like we talked before, like direct in Twitter. You remember this? When we talked. You remember
You
this?
bought me t-shirt. You're a little fat
Yeah,
kid.
black-
Don't be
like
talking about
2014.
Twitter. This is called prize fighting. But thankfully, I'm such a crafty individual with my other entities and my entire game as a whole that I don't
I'm
actually.
gonna put him back to box.
I'm
gonna put him- I'm gonna put him-
book. They'll bang
Book.
your off
Hey,
me.
you have to fight only box
Yeah,
because
they'll
you
bang off you, kid.
compete with
I
high-level
don't
guys
have
doing
to fight
wrestling.
for money
You
no
know?
more. Thank the Lord.
You
Jesus
fight with
H.
small
Christ.
guys in
I
fighter
don't have to
division.
fight
And
for
these
money
guys
no more.
who have
I've
wrestling,
made
they
so
give you
much to
lot
my
of
other
problem.
entities.
What are you talking
I mean,
about?
if I
Your
made-
wrestling is zero. Your grappling is zero.
All of them.
he says your grappling is zero. Remember that when he said your grappling is zero.
I'm gonna mold you.
Let's wrestle, kid. Let's wrestle. Let's wrestle. Let's wrestle.
Now, look, the big thing that I want to emphasize with this, obviously, this is just the highlight version of it, the 4-minute highlight version that you could catch on UFC's website on their YouTube page, right? So there was a lot of anti-Islamic rhetoric going into this fight, right? He called Khabib a mad backwards cunt. He called him his wife a towel simply because Muslim women obviously wear the hijab or sometimes even more the niqab, right? And so that was how Khabib was presented to his wife during a wedding that they had in Dagestan, right? So once again, right, it kind of goes back into the cultural ideas and the cultural differences that we have as Muslims in comparison to, let's say, non-Muslims, okay? Now, one of the things that Conor McGregor has mentioned in the lead up to this fight, he said, where are the women and the kids in Dagestan? You guys go out there and hide them. Well, that's an Orientalist view of the Western Orientalist view of the Islamic world. You see, we don't go out there and exploit our children the way that non-Muslims do, or other non-Muslim fighters, to be exact. I don't know what the other normal part of society does, but this is something that I had noticed with a lot of non-Muslim fighters. What they love to do is, well, I don't want anyone to take this the wrong way, but I'm just being very honest about this, right? I just think that a lot of people use their children as a way to market themselves, and I don't necessarily think that it's right. I mean, Conor obviously does it. He shows his kids to the world. We all know who his kids are. Khabib, we have no idea who his kids are, other than Islam Makhachev, who has mentioned, who's been around Khabib's kids, Bilal Muhammad. Okay, he's seen pictures of Khabib's kid, what I believe is doing gymnastics or something, or some sort of sport, tied to that. Right, so obviously Khabib is only sharing his life to the likes of Bilal, to the likes of Islam, basically to the people that are within his circle. That's really all there is to it, right? But for somebody like Conor McGregor, obviously he is the quintessential champion of Western values nowadays. And in fact, he's also running for president of Ireland, sort of in a conservative right-wing stance of things, right? Whereas before, a lot of people don't notice, but when Conor McGregor started out in the UFC, he was a staunch liberal. You want to know how I know this? He praised Obama during the time of when he was in front of a camera. He says, oh, look at this. I feel like I'm the president here, like Obama or something, right? Sort of giving him props, sort of giving him a sense of admiration, right? And you're probably thinking, well, okay, Obama was the sitting president at the time, so why is it so indicative of the fact that he's a supporter of the Democrat Party or liberals, when all he was doing was saying that, hey, I'm here in front of the camera presidential style like Obama? Well, okay, maybe that could be an argument, but the other argument is that Conor McGregor actually went out of his way to propose and to influence Ireland's political landscape into accepting gay marriage. Chromo says, are you Muslim? I am, brother. I am Muslim, yes. Thank you for asking. Let me know what part of the world you are from. Are you Muslim as well? And if not, or if you are, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh to you anyway, my man. So, all right, back to the press conference during this time.
Let's wrestle. Yeah, you hope me. Oh, yeah, you're going to be wrestling with knuckle out your orbital bone.
I think I'm gonna make him tired and after play with him. Because when he tired, he always give up. He don't like, he's like, when you go to he moved to box and he tap there. Like when someone punch you like 10.
You tap the bus window, kid.
You tap
the bus window.
3 times.
You tap the little stop that stops the bus.
You tap 4 times. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You tap 3. You tap 4 times. You tap 4 times.
So what? I'll tap your head off the canvas, kid.
You tap like chicken 4
I'll
times.
tap your head off the canvas. All his pony talk is gonna be put on blast October 6th.
Do you have a round in mind?
As long as it takes. I believe one. He's a glass jaw. And I've seen this man wobble many times. I've seen his brother sparked unconscious in another promotion. I know he is afraid of a smack. And if you're afraid of a smack off me, a smack will feel like a double-barrel shotgun. So I believe inside the force. But I have been wrong before. I will be prepared.
I'll tell you what's interesting about this part, right? Usually, Conor McGregor is very adamant in expressing what round, how he's going to do it, where he's going to do it, and he's actually done it before. Jose Aldo, Chad Mendes, Eddie Alvarez, right? Even Nate Diaz, right? The second time around, not the first time around, obviously. He had to get a full camp and go 5-round decision in the second time around to beat him that time, right? I mean, Nate has, a strong jaw, so, You know, very durable, hard to put away. So that was the best of what Conor McGregor could do. And by that, in and of itself, if it were the first match in the way that he performed in the second match with Diaz, that would have been sufficient enough for what we knew Diaz to be. But then again, had Diaz never choked him out in that 2016 fight, then obviously we would not have the same Nate Diaz that we have now, let alone the same Conor McGregor that we have now.
For 5 rounds, you're looking at a fighting veteran. I've came through it all.
All right, here's the face-off between them. Remember that police officer right there? He's probably watching this right now like, man, I'm part of history. This is where he goes off on Ali.
Fool! Don't come at the king! Don't ever come at the king!
Now, they obviously edited that part out. They obviously had to edit that part out because of the fact that they did not want to feature Ali Abdelaziz. You know what? I wrote notes during that time of UFC 229. I want to read them. Okay, this is what's great about being an MMA journalist. I mean, obviously, I haven't been an MMA journalist for long, but I'll tell you where this MMA independent journalism of mine started was when I had decided that, hey, you know what? I'm gonna, in this little orange book right here, back in 2018, I have some notes. Look at this. Look at this. I have some notes. Wow, okay. Yeah, I got some notes during that time. So, let's see here. This is from August 2018. Okay, so if we go further into this. Let's see here. We go into August, September. Okay. Wow. Wow, look at this, man. All the different content that I have, you know, that I have, okay, UFC, that I sort of consumed in here. What did he say here? Lon says Pereira was on point. He definitely was, man. He definitely was. I mean, I think it's safe to say right now that he is the new Conor McGregor of this time. So, let's see. Okay, let's go to the fight week of this. Let's see here. Okay, so 9/18, fight 15. Okay, so that is wow, road to Joshua Povetkin. I remember that fight. Here we go. Okay, so here's a few notes. He says Jerry was also on point. Correct, man. I think that fight card in and of itself, from what I remember. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking about just this weekend's fights, not the 229, which is the other topic of this. But yeah, it was a redemption card for both Jiri and Pereira is the best way to put it. Okay, so October the 2nd, 2018, this was on a Tuesday, right? The Weasel goes in depth about Khabib and Conor McGregor. Okay, so MSN fighting, training with Khabib, what makes Khabib different? True Jordy makes a breakdown prediction of that. How about this? JRE MMA show at the time. This was during the podcast Unfiltered UFC Fight Week. Believe You Me, episode number 87. How about that, man? When Believe You Me podcasts are just starting out, it was their 87th episode. I know 87 seems a lot, but if, let's say, you are putting out podcasts 2 times a week, yeah, you know, you'd probably be around at that time for maybe about half a year or so. Okay, so the Bad Blood promo. How about this? The Tony Ferguson media scrum that had gone on during that time, right? McGregor fast videos. Okay, and then they had an open workout on October the 3rd. What else here? Dan Hardy meets Dana White for BT Sports, right? I'm reading to you all the notes that I took during the time of UFC 229, right? What else do we have here? El-Kheer. How about this? El-Kheer during that time was doing what I believe was a little workout video for MMAfighting.com, right? I believe he was doing like a sprint inside the cage, right? He has a football background. El-Kheer, by the way, the manager of Conor McGregor. What else during that time? The Boxing Voice. At the time, okay, I was watching the Boxing Voice, and okay, it was during the time when Canelo was stalling to fight Charlo. This was back in 2018. Okay, so the this, by the way, all of these notes that I'm reading right now is all from 2018 during the fight week of Conor McGregor and Khabib. Also, I remember a group of these people in RT channel, right? I believe it was RT channel. They went to China, and I remember they were asking like random people on the streets, hey, who do you think is more handsome between Conor McGregor and Khabib, right? And these are fight fans. Well, these are not fight fans. These are just regular people that have nothing to do with fighting or know nothing about fighting. And well, I just remember a lot of people, especially females, were saying that Khabib was more handsome than Conor McGregor, which was crazy to me. John says, why do you think Pereira is the new Conor McGregor? McGregor was mostly known for his quick wits, but often quit when catching a face of adversity in his fights. Very true. I'm going to mark that comment right there, Lon John. You made a good point there, right? What I mean by Alex Pereira being the new Conor McGregor is that he is now holding the torch of being the face of the company. Now, he doesn't have the personality of Conor McGregor. Nobody will ever have the personality of Conor McGregor. Not anybody in his weight class, not anybody that is lower than his weight class, and certainly nobody in the heavyweight division, and especially the likes of Alex Pereira, who is known to be a stoic guy. Okay, so the reason why he is because he's the most popular guy right now. Popularity is not indicative of how good you talk, although it does help. And this is what makes Alex Pereira very unique in that sense. In the same setting, by the way, a friend of mine was working with Conor McGregor during that time of when Conor McGregor had fought Khabib. A guy that I had trained with in Team Alpha Male by the name of Eric Trilogy, who, by the way, is also the nutritionist of Jake Paul, the nutritionist of Logan Paul, and the nutritionist of Conor McGregor. He had mentioned to me that I don't think Khabib will ever be a star. And this is in 2017. He told me this before he had fought Khabib, right? He told me this. I don't think Khabib could be a star. Lo and behold, Conor throws a dolly in the bus. Conor gets this viral video going. It's added into the UFC 229 promo. And next thing you know, Khabib wins in front of everybody in the world, in front of people that are usually not MMA fans. I remember French Montana showed up at that fight. How about that, right? French Montana was at the fight. Drake was at the fight. Remember when Drake was holding up the Irish flag? Can you imagine what if during that time Drake was beefing with Kendrick Lamar, right? Years early. Obviously, they started beefing in 2024, and it bled over into 2025, and then that was that, right? But what if they just started that beef early, man? Can you imagine the promo that Khabib would have gotten, being that, let's say, if Kendrick decided to be a Khabib supporter? Now, that would be in line with his trajectory. That would be in line with his ideals and this and that. Let me get to these comments right now. Yi says, I don't agree. Okay, that's perfectly fine if you don't agree with that notion. If somebody was to start MMA at 16 with some to no experience, do you think he can make it to the UFC? At 16, yes, yes. That's not a very old age. There's guys that have started way later and have made it into the UFC. But yes. Okay. So he's asking the same question. Yes. So, yes, my Yi. That is my answer to that. How long do you think? You know what, Yi? It's interesting that you asked me this, right? So it was around during this time that I had remember Truth Seeker says, good morning. Good morning to you, my man. Hope everything is going well with you, okay? So what I wanted to say was that I had a buddy of mine in New Jersey, okay? How do I describe him? The biggest normie of all normies is the best way I could describe this guy. And what do I mean by that? Meaning that he had a son who played baseball. Okay, there's the normie side of things, right? Normal, conventional sports, okay? That's neither here or there. He tried to get his son into MMA by having me train his son, right? He's, William Charles says, Ilya will beat Islam. We will see. Listen, don't get hyped up because all these Dagestani fighters are getting knocked out. Remember, they all can't be Khabib. They all can't be Khamzat. And by the end of the day, Alex Pereira just happen to have the right style to beat Ankalaev, and that's just what it is. But, okay, Dricus will beat Khamzat in a rematch. Okay, so I see where you stand with a lot of things, right? You kind of stand with, you know, the non-Muslim fighters against the Muslim fighters. But yeah, bro, what were you saying? Okay, so this buddy of mine, he asked me to go and train his son, who's a baseball player, right? Wants to get him into MMA. He says, William is a waffler. Okay, let's be nice, okay? We don't need to insult other people for having a difference of opinion in the people that we, you know, love in the world of fighting. So he tried to get me, he says nothing against Muslim fighters. Of course, my man, of course. Shout out to you, my man. Hope you're doing well, and you're very welcome here no matter what, right? We all are tied together, no matter our race or religion, based on the love of MMA and based on the love of sport and also just overall based on the love of humanity. But okay, going back to my story, he tried to get me to train his son. He asked me, how long will it take for you to train my son to get to a certain level? I said to him, there is no cookie cutter answer into how long it will take somebody and how long it will take for somebody to make it into the UFC or make it into X, Y, and Z or be an elite fighter or anything like that, right? There is none of that, right? It's not anything of that sort. So, hold on a second. Okay, so that's the reality of the situation, right? It's not a one-size-fits-all answer. And the thing is, he was kind of apprehensive when I was answering this question to him, right? Because he wanted me to give him a definitive answer that is basically cookie cutter. And unfortunately, it doesn't work like that because MMA and the skills that you acquire and the skills that you are able to obtain differs from one person to another. William Cookson says, I'm still an amateur kickboxer, 2-0. And I'm 0-2 in boxing. Okay, so you got some experience. Yi says, what if you don't got support of peers around you, family, etc.? Answer after you finish. Very engaged right now. No, so that's all that I wanted to say about that. He obviously just wanted me to train his son and give him a cookie cutter answer. And unfortunately, that's not how it goes. Now, what you're asking, Yi, about support, I think that is very important. I think a lot of people sort of underestimate the power of support. You know what? I have a video for you that I did, right? I want you to check out my video that I have on the video section of this channel. After you like and subscribe, go to the video section and type out Tom Aspinall Plan B. Okay, I made a documentary about Tom Aspinall's dad. And what I did in that documentary is highlight how important it is for people to have your back behind the scenes when it comes to your fight career. Tom Aspinall had many people helping him behind the scenes in order for him to become a world champion. I also talk about some of my training partners in Team Alpha Male, in that documentary, where a lot of them just were promising people but didn't make it simply because they didn't have the right support system behind the scenes, right? People were telling them you have to go out and work or this and that. You got to do this and the other. Meanwhile, Uriah Faber is telling one of these fighters that you can't just, think about work or think about school. You have to be all in with this fighting thing. And I remembered that, and this is the reason why I'm sort of going all out with, putting all my eggs in one basket with MMA podcasting, right? Because you can't go halfway into this, whether you want to be a fighter or a podcaster. So yeah, be sure to check that out. Just look up Aspinall Plan B, right? Because there is no Plan B. If William says, I really want to try MMA one day. Inshallah, be sure to get your grappling as well, right? You obviously have a striking background. You have a background in boxing. You fought in kickboxing. So just be sure to train your grappling as well so that you can be very efficient in that sense. Fresh says, did you hear Conor say that fame got to him? It was nice to see the awareness from him. I think he listened to Rory McDonald at the Jackson podcast. Okay, interesting. Well, if there's anybody that Conor McGregor is probably going to listen to, it's probably Rory McDonald. Obviously, Rory McDonald is a Canadian, but a name like McDonald, that is an Irish name. So, yeah. Yee says, I will watch. Okay, yeah, be sure to write on the comment section below. It's a video that I made back in November, right, when John Jones had fought. So obviously the time and the context of that video takes place during the time of when Stipe was fighting John Jones. So I hope that you do watch that. John says DDP will get marked again. Are they having a rematch, or is Khamzat going to fight somebody new? I know that Khamzat is probably top priority right now when it comes to the White House card, right? Very interesting. You know what? I would like to see Khamzat walk out of the White House dressed as Abraham Lincoln, right? Oftentimes, a lot of us Salafi Muslim guys, we often sort of, get told that we look like Abraham Lincoln or this, that, and the other, so, it would be nice to kind of see him do that. William says, I'm from Nabia. Okay, so you're from Africa. By the way, guys, all love from this side. Okay, have you ever trained MMA? If so, jiu-jitsu or boxing? Oh yeah, brother, I have trained in jiu-jitsu, wrestling. I've wrestled, all throughout high school, all throughout my school years. It's, typical here in America to be able to do that. I've competed in Muay Thai kickboxing. I have, a championship in Muay Thai, amateur Muay Thai kickboxing. So do you train MMA or anything? Oh yeah, every day. So William says, Drickus has a heart of a lion. Will he get the win? I don't think so. So, okay, kind of makes sense why you're going for Drickus. I mean, you are from Africa after all, and even though Drickus doesn't exactly look like you guys, he is still part of the continent nonetheless. Where's Izzy right now with the soundbite of him dropping N-bombs on Drickus one time for that one. All right, so yes, I've only trained jiu-jitsu a little. Okay, that's good. Fresh Melon Juice says platinum coding Conor after his win at BKFC was funny. He's like, I'd like to apologize to absolutely nobody. The champ does what the F he wants. William says, I think Conor or John Jones and Alex will headline the White House. Yee says, why don't you go to the UFC? That's a very good question. Look, so I'm 40 years old, right? I started MMA maybe in my mid-20s, right? Wasn't really enough time for me to develop something like that. But, I did compete where I needed to compete at and to test myself. And that's all that I really wanted to get out of that. Now, here I am doing an MMA podcast, entertaining you guys. William says, wow, that's amazing, brother. You're very experienced and confident wise. I see. I'm impressed by you, and I will subscribe, brother. Thank you. I hope you get other 10 people to subscribe as well. Also, William, be sure to join my members section only. So, Kyrie, sign up for Slap. No, never. I'm never going to do combat sports that is not really a combat sports, let alone a combat sports that you can't defend yourself. Yi says, Alhamdulillah, Ya Rab. Yeah, I understand everything is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Podcast goes well. Inshallah. C says, UFC, the young eat the old every time. It's a young man's sport. Not all the time. Obviously, Alex Pereira is getting up there with age, but it doesn't seem to show. Now, it seems to show every time he does get knocked out, every time he does lose to a decision, but by the end of it all, it just seems that he keeps bouncing back and keeps looking good at any given time. And I think that he can beat anybody at any given time. So, all right. So going back to, yeah, not a young man sport. You have to be old. See, here's the thing with MMA. You have to be old enough to where you gain a lot of experience that makes you elite, but you also have to be young enough to be able to recover from the tough training sessions that you go through. What are your thoughts on Ilya? Ilya is a very good fighter, but I think that once he fights Islam or somebody to that caliber, I think that he will get exposed. West of Caucasus back on top, Wagner says. Shout out to you, man. West of Caucasus. So, Wagner, are you from Russia by any chance? Let me know. William says, can you help me explain what Sambo fighting is? I think Khabib used to do it. Yeah, so that's very easy, man. Sambo is basically amateur mixed martial arts being fought in a mat with no, it's fought in a mat with no ropes and no cage, and it's basically MMA with headgear, okay? Headgear and with a gi, so they mix like literally every type of, sport that deals with a gi, like judo or karate, and then they add the punches and kicks to it as well. So he says, I'm Russian to touch that beard. Oh, you're trying to touch that beard. All right, well, go ahead, try. He says, YDYM, what does that mean? YDYM expose. Explain what that is. He says, never. If Alex was fighting 2 times per year, he would never lose. If he was fighting 2 times a year, he would never lose. I see what you're saying. Yeah. He says, means what do you mean? Okay. Do you have a call? No, I don't. So let's go back to some of the media that I consumed during that time, because I literally made notes back in 2018. Look at these. Look at the date on these right here. Right? These were some of the things that I was watching during that time. Deontay Wilder at that time, October 3rd, 2018, he was at Hot 97. I believe he was promoting the Wilder versus Fury promo during that time, right? Obviously, that was a very risky matchup for Tyson Fury to take at that time. But, he had decided to take it anyway. William says, what are your thoughts on Shavkat's situation right now since he's injured again? Yeah, I think that he is set to be the #1 contender. But when he comes back, there is no guarantee that that is the case. So we shall see. The double champ does whatever the F he wants. Ilya is a boring, inactive champion. Well, I mean, not so fast, right? What, Wilder and Ngannou in the works in Dubai. Is that right? Okay. Wow. Okay. All right. So, given a little bit of some context of what we got going on here. All right. How about this? On October 3rd, 2028, okay? Christopher McGregor helps the U.S. Navy versus Ireland. Guess who mentions this? Khabib mentions this at the open workout. Okay, let's take a look at the open workout that Khabib did for UFC 229. Okay, so it kind of gives context to this, okay? So, all right, right here. This was 7 years ago, right here. This is his open workout.
Help reduce plastic landfill waste with San Francisco Bay Coffee's commercially compostable 1-cup coffee pods. That's one small sip for a better tomorrow. San Francisco Bay Coffee.
With Thrivent, your personal finances aren't just personal. We use money as a tool to help all the people we hold in our hearts. Because the most important thing isn't what you're planning for, it's who. Thrivent, where money means more.
All right, here we go. Now, if you notice, there's Islam in the background right there, just waiting for his turn to become the undisputed 155 champion in the future. The Irish crowd heavy in Las Vegas, and check this out. It's hard to imagine that back in the days Khabib was getting booed at like this, but he was. And of course, you got Notorious B.I.G. playing in the background. That is obviously indicative of the fact that it is Conor McGregor's event. By the end of the day, let me just, yeah. He says, no elbows in Sambo. Yes, but that is why it is literally the amateur version of mixed martial arts. That's really the best way to put it, right? So here's Khabib right there doing a little bit of some stretching. What else does he do in here, right? He does a bit of some grappling exchanges, judo, hip tosses. He's not answering my question. What was your question? Yeah, what was your question, my man? William says, I have an interesting question. Do you think Dana White will ever let a UFC champ compete in boxing? And who do you think might be? Because I think if Ilya gets 2 more knockouts over a famous pound-for-pound fighter, okay. Baba Angel says, wasn't a question. Yeah, I don't understand. Fresh Melody says, Conor, DC, and Ariel helped make Khabib likable and famous. Is that right? So Ariel Helwani is part of the reason why you say that he... Okay, I could understand that. Yeah, him and Ariel Helwani had a bit of some good back and forth banter going on. But not only that, him and Ali Abdelaziz also had a good back and forth banter going on as well, right? So let's hear what Conor... Okay, let's skip this, right? Let's hear what he had to say because this is kind of relevant to the notes that I have right now. Let's hear what Khabib had to say. He says, I'm saying, what would you do if Ilya will be exposed? I don't understand your question, bro. I'm asking, what do you mean Ilya will be exposed if he fights Islam? Oh, okay. Yeah, I think the wrestling is going to just be the determining factor of him getting fraud checked. That's what I think. Okay, now let's hear what Khabib had to say about the father of Conor McGregor, or his grandfather, who was a member of the British Royal Navy. Walaikum salam rahmatullah to you, brother. All right, here it is. This is where he asked about his grandfather, Christopher McGregor. He asked, hey, why did the Irish people change their language? How did you go from speaking Gaelic to speaking English, the language of your conquerors, pretty much?
What about their language? Please, someone can give the answer. What about Ireland language? You guys speak England right now? You guys right now with England? You can change your language? answer someone if you can. It's very interesting. These guys talk about they fight with English man, but his grandfather, Christopher McGregor, he worked with an English Navy, and he killed your people. How impossible.
See, and these dumb Irish drunk crowd doesn't even want to address what he's saying, right? He's saying that, you know, he joined the British Royal Navy to kill your people, right? Now, this is where Khabib gets really inflammatory. This is as inflammatory as Khabib gets. But think about it. Conor sort of drove him into this point. Now, speaking of Ariel Helwani, I think during that same day of October 3rd, 2018, this is what I have on my notes right here. Right, this is what I got on my notes right here for that one. Sean O'Malley, Ariel Helwani in DC, right, at the MMA show. Okay, the boxing voice. There's a press conference for Wilder, mega boxing event of the century. And then October 4th, how about this? Jimmy Kimmel. How about this? Jimmy Kimmel and Dana White talked to each other at October the 4th. MMA Beat. There was an MMA Beat with Ariel Helwani. No, I'm sorry, with Luke Thomas. They were at a Las Vegas restaurant at a hotel. I remember they were talking about how Luke Thomas was saying there were other parts of the Muslim world that drink, like Albania and whatnot, right, and other parts of Turkey. Right, because he was sort of mentioning how, you know, Khabib did not want to drink when he was offered that proper 12 drink and whiskey. So
I know you're not gonna like me. My brothers, thank you so much for supporting me, inshallah. Inshallah, I will die, but I'm gonna go and beat this guy, inshallah. Thank you so much.
okay, so while we play Conor McGregor's open workout during that time, I'm going to read to you the other media that was going on at that time as well. So
I've got a way that you could get 3.
Okay, let's just pause the music. Okay, so what else here? Fight Diary day number 1. Okay, I believe that was from Roddy. Owen Roddy, the coach of Conor McGregor. Yeah, he did a lot of vlogs for that fight. Look at Conor McGregor back in the days, man, just looking really loose and all of that, right? You know, this was Conor McGregor, you know, at his best, right? Like, let's not get it twisted. He made him look like an amateur, but this was still one of Conor McGregor's best. DC did the most to make Khabib likable. That's true. So, okay, this was the open workout. Ali Abdelaziz did an interview with ESPN. Media Day face-offs. Okay, so Anthony Pettis also did a media scrum that day. UFC Embedded, episode 4, McGregor Fast. JRE had a podcast during that time, right? 180 Everlast podcast. Oh, okay, so he did a song with, okay, he did a podcast with Everlast during that time, and that was October 4th. Okay, what else was going on in October 4th? Baby Miller did an IFL interview. Chael Sonnen on Khabib leaving UFC 229 presser. So obviously Khabib, yeah. Did you hear him say the game broke him? Who said that? Who said that the game broke him? Are you talking about Conor McGregor saying that? Truth, is that who you were referring to? If so, let me know on the comment section below, my man. So okay. How about this? October 5th, Leon Woodstock versus Sharp P Beef. Huh, okay. BBC MMA show. How about this? There's a BBC MMA show, and who other than Dan Hardy to be a part of it? BT Sport did a preview for that show. Anatomy of UFC 229, Anatomy of a Fighter was also part of that. Mac Life, Inside Team McGregor, Peter Queally talks sparring. Okay, so Peter Queally. How about this? October 6th, RT Sports MMA Underground. Alex versus Lewis. Mike Perry with Luke Thomas. Wow, okay. And then you had Quintet 3 at the time. It was Team Alpha Male versus Polaris. I remember that. It was a grappling tournament. He says the Fame. Yeah, Conor. You know what? I think Conor, for as prideful as he is, I think he's coming to the self-realization, right? Look at this Conor McGregor that we are watching right now, right? The Conor McGregor in 2018. This is a completely different guy, okay? We are dealing with a different guy right now in 2025. This is not the same guy. This guy that I see right here was full of venom, full of hate. On top of that, he was dealing with that Nikita Hand situation. And I mean, just absolutely just, well, okay, I think he dealt with that after the fact. Okay, so what else did I have for this one? Okay, so Team Alpha Male at the time was, yeah. So WBE Showdown was taking place in Australia at that time. Okay, Robin Black did a Q&A for UFC 229. What else was going on there? Let's see here. Okay, the eve of the fight day. So Dante's boxing, Conor's a drunk guy, mixed combat radio. Oh, I remember that that video. JD says, until the next bump of coke, he says, F it, I don't need to fight. Yeah, this is why I say this is a completely different Conor McGregor now. So what else did we have here? Yeah, man, that's really about it for UFC 229, man. Yeah, I'm glad I was able to document some of these to sort of go back in time. So yeah, man, that's this is the reason why I have a lot of MMA knowledge, is because I write a lot of this stuff down, and I write a lot of things down. And it's, I think it's, it keeps you educated, it keeps your brain sharp. But now let's fast forward to today, okay? Ever since then, the Muslim fighters have been dominating, but then whenever a Muslim fighter loses, it's like, wow, a big celebration, especially with the likes of Alex Pereira and Ankalaev. At the time, during this time, actually, people were saying that they needed to trade Ankalaev for the PFL, right? Because he's so boring, and they were talking about maybe trading him for Dakota. What's that girl's name? Dakota or whatever, right? I forgot how to pronounce her last name, but yeah. Well, all right. It's because Alex is so loved, right? Nev Fan the Great says, new here, what's your thoughts on Floyd versus Tyson? I actually have a video on that, right? I think that it's going to be an exhibition. I think that Floyd is going to run circles around him, even though at the prime of Mike Tyson, he could probably obliterate Floyd Mayweather. This is a completely different Mayweather and a completely different Tyson, and it just so happens to be that, he has his number more than Floyd Mayweather, more than Mike Tyson has the number of Mike Tyson. He's just a lot more technical, a lot faster, right? So one of your boys got KO'd by Pettis. I saw that, man. I saw that. And a lot of people were happy about that. And again, that kind of shows you the dominance of, Muslim MMA, right? Or Dagestani MMA to be exact, right? Because every time they lose, it is as if we're dealing with a Mike Tyson, Buster Douglas situation. And look, Magomed, he's a great fighter, but nobody knows him from a can of paint. You understand what I'm saying? Like, nobody knows him. Like, you know him, I know him because we're MMA hardcores, but try and ask one of your buddies that knows nothing about fighting, or just your buddies that are, sports enthusiasts of other sports and not necessarily of MMA, and ask them, hey, who is Magomed? And they'll look at you like, who is that? right? I mean, they could probably associate the fact that he is probably one of Khabib's guys due to the fact that he has a beard or the fact that he has the name. But yeah, Fresh says, Kyrie thinks they celebrate more a Muslim lose is silly. We don't care if they are Muslim or not. Well, Fresh, you're speaking for yourself, okay? But when you hear MMA Guru and you hear other people that I know in real life and people that, you know, send me messages, or people that are like, let's say, former rivals of mine in the world of MMA, it's a little bit different. Or maybe just people that are rivals in the streets, right? They taught me with these things. So Nav says, I liked and I sub, love the vibe and energy, keep up the grind. Thank you so much, Neva fan the great. Thank you so much, my man. I hope that you do spread me around to your other friends as well. Z Vinger says, Conor Ben versus Eubank 2. I'm going to go with Eubank on this one, right? He's got a great trainer in Bomac. He beat him the first time. And I think that Bomac is going to come with a very decisive plan to where it's going to be a lot easier for Chris this time. So I got Eubank on this one. JD says Ben is going to knock him out this time. Not so fast. Not with the training methods of Bomac going into this fight. I don't think it's going to be that easy for him to knock him out, but we shall see. We shall see. Never the Great says, I don't know, bro. Mike hits one good right or left, and that's big enough to blow his jaw away. It could be, man. You know what? If there's anybody that's going to beat a Floyd Mayweather, it's going to be a 57-year-old Mike Tyson, right? Nigel Benn was my favorite ever, so just as Conor, so I'm just a Conor fanboy. Okay. Truth Seeker says, yeah, you're Muslim and here we are, LOL. I don't care about that. He says, yeah, you're Muslim and we are here a lot and I don't care about that. Yeah, okay, so this is what I'm saying. Truth is that you guys don't care, but there are people out there that do make it about that. They do make it about religion, and then on top of that, man, you got to see some of the comments that you know, some of the people wrote on Fight Night, right? When Ankalaev got knocked out. I mean, they went there with anti-Islamic rhetoric. Now, look, that's what I'm saying. You guys may not be that, but yeah, Tyson and Floyd aren't going to actually fight. Yes, because it's going to be an exhibition, but it doesn't mean that Mike Tyson is not going to go off script, right? So may God be with you, my friend. You as well, my man. You as well. You as well. Shout out to you, Pereira. Tapoya says Pereira with the heat. Okay. So, let's see here. Let's hear from Alex Pereira real quick. Let's hear what he had to say here. Okay, so this is Alex Pereira backstage. Oh, you know what? Let's hear the reaction from Israel Adesanya.
Show him. Oh! Bro, he's on. That's it. It's over. Nice. Look at the wrestling. Look at that. Good defense from Bossman. We smart. Mix it up early. Let him know. Go for the trip. Go for the trip. Go for the trip. Beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, nice reversal. Oh, yeah, down foot driver.
He's reacting to the Abus Magomedov fight.
Fucking full mat. Dang. Oh, there it is. Yeah, now that's it. That's it. Get to the other side. Slide. If he puts his hips down, Oh, ref. Yeah, that's new.
JD says, what do you think is next for Ulberg and Jiri? I think each other. And who do you think Alex does make the move to heavyweight? If so, does he fight Aspinall or Jones? More than likely, Aspinall because there is no guarantee of Jones, unless, of course, John Jones agrees to fight Alex Pereira at the White House. That could be a great possibility, by the way, of him fighting him at the White House. That is a good possibility that he will fight him at the White House because, look, Tom Aspinall is not ideal for John Jones. There's too much wrestling and too much grappling going on for him. Now, with Alex Pereira, that's a safe bet. If I was John Jones's manager, yeah, man, go with Alex Pereira. Biker Boy says, Alex versus Tom Ulberg versus Jerry, let's go for that. Yes, I like that. It's a tournament. It's a tournament that, you know, that I think they should have going on. He says, Biker Boy says, no Chama. JD says, Pereira versus Jones for the #1 contender at heavyweight. Pereira versus Jones for the number. Okay, that is a good possibility. But what do you do with Tom in the meantime? Or maybe you just fight Tom out. You know what, man? Listen, with the White House card, there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to be in that card who are going to be compromised. So what do I mean by that? Okay, let's say you have a fight in March. You do really good, and you said, I want to get into the White House card. Meanwhile, the White House card, they say that they're going to start building the card in February. Okay, not so fast. I don't know the reality of that or how solid that may be. But what I do know is that if, let's say, you have a guy fighting in March or April, right, they're going to try to turn him around during that time. You're going to see a lot of that. A lot of people with quick turnarounds from April, May, something to those months, very close to June. You're going to see a lot of people have a turnaround because a lot of people are going to want to get into that card. Now, by February time, what I think is going to happen is that the UFC is going to try and build the card from there, meaning that, okay, we're going to start with the main event. Who hasn't fought yet leading up to February? Maybe at that time it will be Khamzat. Or maybe Alex Pereira. That is, if Alex Pereira doesn't decide to get up and go fight in UFC Abu Dhabi, right, which is coming up on the 25th of October. Fresh Melon Juice says, LOL, Alex and John don't fight for #1 contender, LOL. Well, why not? Why not? I mean, it seems like, you know, like the best bet, right? We want to keep Tom Aspinall as the undisputed champion because he vehemently deserves it. But at the same time, we also want to see Alex fight a big name, which is somebody like John Jones. And John Jones is no longer the champion, but he wants to get back up there again. And maybe we want to see him with Tom Aspinall. So maybe we give him a little bit of confidence by beating Alex Pereira on his way towards Tom Aspinall. But let me know what you think of that. Truth Seeker says, I said Conor versus Nate for the trilogy is the only fight Conor should take on. Conor should take on another channel and got roasted for it. Conor should take on another channel and got roasted for it. Okay. Biker Boy says, hell no. Tom is a champ. Champ versus Champ. Jones is a chump duck. Ooh, okay. Shots fired. Truth Seeker says, I think it's the biggest fight and the smartest for Conor. Who else can Conor beat? Maybe Chandler, but he can't buy a win lately. No one really cares about the Chandler fight. That's true. The only person that cares about the Chandler fight is Michael Chandler himself, right? And it seemed interesting when they first sort of brought it up, but then all of a sudden he's fighting different people after that. And then the interest was just gone from there. Right? The interest was no longer there. So, yeah, that remains to be seen, though, if Conor will actually come back. And you're right. I think Nate is the only fight that is beatable for him. In fact, if Conor McGregor is anywhere near the decent shape that he was when he was in his prime, I think that he could absolutely lay out the current version of Nate Diaz right now. You know what I mean? I just don't think... Look, I think Nate Diaz is very limited when it comes to elite level MMA. Biker Boy says Chandler is 1-5 in his last 6 fights. What the F? That's what I'm saying, right? So that seems like the perfect career trajectory for Conor McGregor. But for whatever reason, you know, it's just not happening. He says, yeah, that's what I'm saying. But even with that, man, how many of you here believe that Michael Chandler could probably beat Conor McGregor right now? In all honesty. Could you be honest with yourself and say, hey, you know what? Conor McGregor would get spanked by Michael Chandler. I'm very confident in saying that. I'm very confident in believing that. I'm very confident in that notion. So, Patty mauled him. That's what I'm saying. And Patty, look, Patty right now could maul Conor McGregor. It's so insane to say that, right? Obviously, the synopsis of this whole entire live stream is Conor McGregor 7 years later, right? 7 years later, Conor McGregor is a bum. He's doing well for himself outside of MMA, so he's not a bum in that sense. He's just a bum in a sense of being a fighter. Khabib, world-class coach. He has some wins. He has some losses along the way as coaches. He lost that Magomed fight. The Ankalaev fight, he's not really Team Khabib, although he is part of his management team. That's a loss. But overall, he's got a higher percentage of wins as a coach. Truth Seeker says, I think it could because Conor can't stay focused. That's true. Biker Boy says, McGregor is a clown coked out of alcohol. The clown, he has always been a fraud, bro. Biker Boy says, Dustin smashed him and KO'd him in 2. Conor McGregor said in 2014 he had a plan, right? I hope I can find a video for this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this now, but he said that my plan is to get rich, get fat. He literally said this. He said that he wants to get fat and not have to worry about fighting. Well, here's the thing. 7 years later, after the Khabib fight, and after he becomes already one of the biggest stars of MMA, 7 years after that, he still wants to fight, but he's also superbly satisfied with the money that he's made. So right now, he's conflicted. You see, he's not fat the way that he said that he was going to be after his career, right? He's in decent enough shape to look like a fighter, but he's not in shape to be conditioned as a fighter. There's a difference. He looks the part, but he's not the part. Now, why is it that he wants to maintain looking the part? Well, for vanity, right? He still wants to maintain a little bit of abs to look like a fighter, wants to have broad shoulders to look like a fighter. But in reality, he's far from a fighter. Right? He never really trained with the best guys in his gym. He never brought in the best guys. He always fought or got prepared in an echo chamber, right? Never trained with, you know, a formidable team. And there's pros and cons to that. The other pros and cons of that is that you're not getting injured. They say iron sharpens iron. But okay, if you're in there with real sharp people, you're getting cut every time, right? But then the con of that is you're not being challenged, and when you go into that cage against Dustin Poirier, against Nate Diaz, and against these other top names right now in his division and the divisions beyond, it becomes difficult because you're not used to that kind of grind. So, Truth Seeker says, funny, Conor acted like he wanted to fight Perry in BKFC. There's no way that happens. I agree. That fight is not going to happen. Fresh says, yeah, Aldo is garbage. Not so fast, right? I think Aldo is garbage in his head when it comes to getting manipulated into mental warfare, right? I wouldn't necessarily say that he is trash or anything like that. In fact, after that fight, aside from the championship accomplishments and aside from the super fights that Conor McGregor got, who do you think had a better career? In my opinion, Jose Aldo had a better career after they fought. Yes, it was a bad way to lose, but he had a better career. Yeah, it was a joke. He beats Prime Aldo. Fresh Melon Juice says never. He has 2 fights on his UFC contract, and he will not fight out the contract as is. Little money. UFC owns him. Yeah, that's true. You know what? So here's the tragedy about Conor McGregor in comparison to Khabib, right? Conor McGregor is an example of a fighter that has been prostituted to the highest level. Khabib is the example of a guy that did not want to allow the game to exploit him and left promptly beforehand. Am says, hello, my name is Amir. Skip your stream. Do you think Ankalaev will become champion again? This is how Ankalaev becomes champion again, right? He gets another win, a decisive win, a win that looks like he needs to get right back up there. Let's say if he fought Jiri, let's say we throw him in there against Jiri, right? He beats Jiri, then he can get up there. Then he beats Oldberg. He has to get 2 wins that are formidable for the UFC to even consider that. Because unfortunately, he's not the ace side of this equation the way that Alex Pereira is. Biker Boy says Ilya beats a 145er ever on a UFC conversation. Ilya, best 145er ever on UFC conversation. Okay, it's over Ank. It's over for Ank. Yeah, man, you know what? We say this a lot when somebody gets knocked out, right? What was it over for Alex Pereira when Izzy knocked him out? Obviously not, right? But only time will tell. Only time will tell. Let's see here. Truth Seeker says, yeah, I'm not a big Chandler fan, but I think he's a fake nice guy. A lot of people do say that about Michael Chandler, right? They sort of notice there's something fake about Michael Chandler, the way that he kind of presents himself or this and that. Russian letter says, what do you think about the Dagestani legacy? 0 Dagestani champs at the moment. Do you think Umar, Islam, and Ankalaev will get their belts? So I suppose you don't add Khamzat into that mix of Dagestanis, but okay, I guess Chechnyan and Dagestani, you could sort of separate that, but okay, yeah. Umar, I don't know, man. You know what? There's champions right now like Alex Pereira and Merab that may be very difficult for them to... I know Islam will become champion again. Mark my words, he's going to get that New York card, right? Become a double champion. And by the way, that was the home of Conor McGregor in becoming a double champion, right? Which led him to the Floyd Mayweather fight and eventually led him into the Khabib fight. Now look, him going into boxing, in my humble opinion, I think really ruined his career. Omar beats Mario. Yeah, that would be a good fight, him and Mario Batista. 13th Ninja Assassin says, Assalamu alaikum from Dubai, UAE. Shout out to you, my man. Shout out to you from the UAE, man. Yeah, shout out to the UAE. Everybody give a warm welcome to 13th Ninja Assassin. He's been a long-time supporter of my channel. Biker Boy says, yeah, Islam beats Jack, but I wouldn't be surprised if Jack gets it done. True. Jack is he's a very difficult fight, but at the same time, listen, man, this is Islam Makhachev's fight to win, in my humble opinion, right? I think this is his Conor McGregor double champion moment, right? So where are we 7 years later after the Khabib and Conor fight? Well, now it seems that what the world wanted to see out of the Khabib and Conor fight, at least with the Irish contingency that showed up there. And by the way, I wonder if those same Irish people that showed up for UFC 229 will ever support Conor McGregor in that same way again. Hate Love says, hi, shout out to you, my man, one of my members only members in here. Fresh Melon Juice says, let's talk about Veronica Hardy's eyes. Is her grandparents related to some people from Germany? Okay, so from Latin America, from what I understand, right? There's a lot of people in Latin America that have European heritage, so you know it's not that far-fetched. What's up with the Khabib beard? Ray Piss says. Well, it's not a Khabib beard per se, but what I will say to that is we are all Muslims, me, Khabib, Kamzat, Islam, all of that. And what we do is we shave the top of our mustache because during the time of the Prophet Muhammad, many religious people had beards. Christian, Orthodox priests had beards. Jewish people had beards. Pagans and the Vikings had beards. So we had to separate ourselves from those people and being able to identify each other. So that is, yeah. He says, and me, I'm super Muslim. The true one says, oh boy, Paul Hughes is a monster future UFC fighter. You know what? That fight between Usman and Paul Hughes, right? In my opinion, that is equivalent to, for my American sports guys out there, this is very similar to, let's say, an NCAA final, right? Well, they both did very well in the NCAA final. Now it's time for them to be drafted into the NBA. I think that's what this matchup is. It's an NCAA national matchup, which now needs to transition into UFC world level. And you know what? Both of these guys should be signed to the UFC. Both Paul Hughes and Usman Nurmagomedov, right? I could see Paul Hughes becoming a real problem at the 155 division, becoming a new Irish star, because let's face it, ever since Conor McGregor, in my humble opinion, these guys need a new star. Best MMA streamer, biker, LOL. Man, thank you, man. Thank you. You know what? I'm really happy to know that there's people out there that really do support and care about the work that I do. Because if you guys don't notice, you know, I'm very passionate about this, right? I'm very passionate about MMA. I'm very passionate about world news and trying to tie it all together. Now, speaking of world news and trying to tie it all together, what are some of the things that Conor McGregor has said about Khabib leading up to this fight? Well, he said that Ramzan Kadyrov is a dictator. He said that your father, you know, was trying to kiss ass to him when you guys were praying in Mecca. Conor McGregor couldn't distinguish that was in Mecca. He said, well, I saw them praying at the mosque or something like that. And yeah, you know, and then this thing where he talks about how Ali Abdelaziz was a former, you know, terrorist or something like that. I mean, it's crazy. Ray says, Jesus is king, repent for your... Okay. I don't think so, hate love. I was talking to Biker. Okay. Yeah. Truth is, Kyrie, a biker? Oh, no. Yeah. He was talking to someone named Biker. Yeah. A Russian says, Arman will smash Paul. No chance. Paul Hughes, you mean he'll smash Paul Hughes? You know what? That would be a good fight if you think about it, right? Both of those guys would absolutely be a good fight for each other in the UFC, right? So that's what I mean. Paul and Usman going in different directions in the UFC and then maybe rematching somewhere down the line, right? I could see Usman fighting his way up, having a different caliber of opponents. I can see Paul Hughes fighting his way up, having a different caliber of opponents, right? By the way, on that card, speaking of UFC 229, Zubaira and Artem Lobov are supposed to fight in that card. And 7 years later, what happens? Artem Lobov is no longer homies with Conor McGregor, so he's fighting for a team that he's no longer really fighting for. Right? And here's the thing. Artem Lobov is still a member of SBG Ireland, right? So that kind of shows you the power dynamic that Conor doesn't have in his own gym, right? Because otherwise, yeah. He says, Biker Boy says, sucks that Ank lost, bro. I'm Team Ank, but did look back at his resume. It's sort of weak compared to Poetan's anyway. Ank has no Jiri, no Hill. He just beat Rakic and Johnny Walker. Man, that's hard to argue. JD says, well, we can tell Kyrie and we appreciate it, man. As I've said many times, this is a great place for mature conversations across all subjects, and very scarcely does anyone get offended. Yeah, because you know what? When you let out all of these offensive things, like, okay, well, why did you say that about Muslims? Why did you say that about black people? Why did you say that about white people? All right, let's talk about it, right? And then when we talk about it, sometimes we realize the ridiculous notions that we have over certain things, and then we just like, okay, you know what, maybe it's just better that we think a different way, or we, even you guys have changed my mind in a lot of things in here. Conor went after all of his opponents. It wasn't personal. Okay, so that was also the focal point of this storyline, right? For Conor, it was all banter, and for Khabib, it was serious honor culture and this, that, and the other, right? Let's see an interview. I want to see if there was an interview with John Kavanagh post UFC 229. Interview with Ariel Helwani. Oh, you know what? Instead, let's go with okay, he talked about, okay, let's hear what John Kavanagh had to say with True Jordy. Truth Seeker says, I think they're saying Merab will fight Peter next. Wow, okay. That should be a fight that we should see at some point, right? Hate Love says, well, I'm not asking into MMA as you as well, but Kyrie has a bit more invested in MMA. He is relatable, and he is good at explaining about things, just like right now I'm learning. Okay, there you go, my man. You guys see Jerry crying when Alex won. Yeah, he got really emotional about it, right? I think, yeah, man, I think that's just shows how much passion he has for the game, right? You know, it's one thing to cry for yourself when you accomplish something, you know, very, very serious, or you have, you know, this new milestone in your life. But it's also another thing to sort of, you know, feel those same emotions for someone else. I tell you what, man, even as a Kamaru Usman supporter, I felt that way during the Leon Edwards fight, man. You know, look, I'll be honest with you, I cried when Leon Edwards won because of what he said afterwards. He says, man, you know what? A lot of y'all didn't believe in me. Look at me now. Obviously, Leon Edwards is no longer champion, but no matter what happens to the rest of his career, he will always have that as something that he will remember for the rest of his life. And that right there is what you sort of, delve yourself into this game for, right? Is for that exact reason. Biker Boy says Jiri is a beast, but still have Oldberg to shut his lights out in round one. Okay. All the rest are scrubs. That Corey was a goofy, never stood a chance. Pantoja next for Merab. Yeah, how about that, right? Maybe he could move up and fight Merab at that weight class. Who do you think should be next for Merab? Yeah, Peter Yan should be. Who else? Man, there's not a lot of options there right now, man. Yeah, maybe Pantoja, right? That would be good. JD says, Kyrie, this is a random one, but what do you do for work? You seem too intelligent for manual work, but your interests definitely seem more of the working class. Well, that's interesting that you said that, right? Yes, I do, you know, mostly, you know, work that deals with, you know, office computers and things of that nature, public relations and things of that nature. But when you say that your interests seem more of a working class, I think you are probably speaking from a British-centric perspective where, okay, for example, Prince Charles, or King Charles rather, right? I don't think he would be the type to endorse mixed martial arts, right? It's not something that the British aristocrats are really into, although they should, because there's a lot of great British fighters, right? If I was a member of the royal family, my goodness, man, I would be hanging out with Tom Aspinall every day and shooting all types of videos and vlogs with him, promoting him as the English British world champion that he should be, right? But listen, not every royal family is like the Arabs, man. There is no, like, you know, if you think about it, like, Arab royal families are a lot more relatable than European royal families, right? The Sheikh of Dubai, the president or the king of Dubai, he runs around Abu Dhabi driving on his own, literally with no security, interacts with the people. If he sees a poor person on the street, he gives them money easily, right? Hey, you know, you're hungry. Okay, you're an Emirati citizen. All right, you get some money. Oh, you're a foreigner that's stuck out here and can't get back home. All right, here's some money, right? Like that's, you know, that's one thing that makes me proud to be Arab, right? Is that, you know, I think that we are, even though we are a very strict honor culture based on our Islamic faith, we're also some of the most generous people in the world. Truth Seeker says, class whisperer. Yeah. There it is. Look, Truth, the way that, Marty, the way that we see it in the United States, it's a race thing, right? But then the way that they see it in the UK, it's a class thing. Because in the UK, they got gangster white boys too, right? You know, they got white boys that grew up in the council estates and, yeah, they're, you know, they live a gangster life because of their background. And that has nothing to do with race or anything like that. It just has to deal with the class background that they come from. Fresh Melon Juice says, no security, LOL. Just because you can't see them doesn't mean they're not there. Okay, that's in reference to the Sheikh of Dubai. Yes, yes, that is true, right? They probably have, you know, security forces driving maybe like a couple of blocks down or something. Maybe there's surveillance there. Maybe there's a helicopter that's flying over the Sheikh and this and that. Sure, sure. I can see that. And of course, you know, he wants to probably create the image that, hey, I am the everyday man. You know, I am the man that is here for everybody. I'm like, I may be a prince, I may be a king, but I am no different than any of you. So, you know, that it's beautiful, man. You know, that's why, you know, that's why I really, you know, I really admire people like Turkey El-Sheikh. You know, I really admire the Saudis for what they do for combat sports. I admire what the Qataris do. The Emiratis especially. I think the Emiratis, now, correct me if I'm wrong, right? Out of all the Arabs, would you say that the Emiratis are probably, he says, dude, blow your nose. Okay, yeah, sure, thanks. Do you think that the Emiratis are probably the kings of entertainment when it comes to the Arab world? Or are the Saudis, you know, like, kind of catching up to them right now? Let me know on the comment section below. Fresh Melon Juice says, I'm the man who doesn't run my country on slave. Ooh, okay. Yeah. You know what? Listen, that's hard to deny. But I challenge you on this, Fresh. You're American, right? You live in America, right? I don't know. Obviously, I don't know you from a can of paint. I just, you know, you tell me things of who you are, but you're an anonymous guy, so I don't know. But I'm going to assume you're American just based on your choice of language and by the way that you see. Okay, so you're American. Okay, you're definitely not MI6 or Mossad. So, yeah, that makes you American. Okay, so as an American, do you not understand that we as a people are struggling on a daily basis, right? Like, I had a homie write on his social media page the other day. He's like, I don't understand. What is the point of all this work only for my money to go to the government? In other words, he's talking about taxes and bills, right? So with that in mind, do you not think that we also have slave labor in our country as well? Now, maybe the Arabs do it in a way that is how do I say this, very in your face and very blunt, right? Like people who, let's say, work in the UAE or Saudi Arabia, let's say they bring in domestic workers from the Philippines, India, Indonesia, or other poorer countries across Asia and other parts of the Middle East, right? They get sent there. Their owner or their employer, right, holds on to their passport and they can't go anywhere as a result of that. Truth Seeker says tons of America are living in RVs because of the cost of living is so high. There you go, man. There you go. So, you know, who's to say that we don't live in slave labor? And in fact, I would argue maybe those IT tech Indians and domestic house workers, those Asian house workers that live in the Middle East, they probably live better than some of the Americans that we know that are living in RVs, as what Marty here is saying. Let me read this comment from Hate Love. Hate Love says, haha, yeah, we all rate him as our champion. Tom makes Eddie Hall look like a child. Yeah, there you go, right? I follow Tom, and Eddie training is crazy. With Tom, he easily dispatched Eddie, but the royal family don't like MMA, but they love rugby and cricket. There you go, right? I would love to see a royal family of England endorse MMA the way that Trump does, right? Now, obviously, the reason why Trump does it is because, just like what JD says, Trump has look. Here's the thing with rich Americans, right? Or Americans that are like in the middle class or higher classes of things, right? There's Americans don't just we're not going to do this because that's low class stuff or this and that. There's dudes in Texas that own oil fields, or guys that own farms or whatever, right? Rich white boys that are like farm boys or whatever, own farms, they own oil fields and this and that, and they like to do things that normal working class white Americans like to do. Whereas with the English, it's like, we can't do that. What, too sophisticated for that. It's like as if the more money you obtain in England, it is as if you are somehow forced to act a certain way. See, this is what's beautiful about America, is that, being rich is not, an identity, right? So, yeah, Hate Love says, JD, yeah, I agree with that. Extra steps in political correctness. JD says, as Rick Chan says, it's all slavery, just extra steps. There you go. Aliam says, final. Okay. So, yeah. Are you from the UK? Okay. Fresh, ouch. Modern slavery still exists all over. Yes, that's exactly what I was getting at right there, is, there's different forms of slavery, and, yeah. I wanted to get to this video with John Kavanaugh mentioning Khabib and Conor McGregor. Let's hear this from the True Geordie podcast. This was 6 years ago, so 1 year after that fight had taken place. So this is around 2019 when True Geordie still had his host with him, that white guy. I forgot his name.
Immediate reaction to anything painful is I'm going to avoid that.
But this guy right here, that's the co-host of True Geordie, he's no longer with him because True Geordie made some anti-Islamic comments, and the next thing you know, True Geordie is like the biggest voice for Saudi Arabian football, soccer, Newcastle FC, and Saudi Arabia boxing, which is crazy.
Me and the boys were watching the fight, and I'm like, he doesn't just walk towards anyone. Was there a reason for that?
He did want to feel the clinch early, we had maybe slight disagreements on the strategy, but he did want to feel that.
He just like he was going to walk the dog.
He was just like, come on, go for your takedown. Let's feel the clinch, and he had actually a great moment in the openings of that takedown exchange. He actually ended up on top. And that Khabib did a great job of reversing it and eventually ending up on top. But it was I don't know, again, there's a competitiveness. If the guy's great at kicking, all right, let's exchange kicks, let's see how that feels like. You're great at whatever area you're great at, come on, show me. So I think that's what he was wanting to feel.
That's ego, isn't it, a little bit?
I think it's almost just like, it's interesting to him.
Like what Conor was basically trying to do was a John Jones situation. That's what John Jones does. If he feels that you're a good wrestler, he's going to try to out-wrestle you, i.e. Daniel Cormier. If you're a good kickboxer, he's going to try to out-kickbox you, i.e. Alexander Gustafsson, although that didn't work out too well. Rampage, also Lyoto Machida, although he did choke Lyoto Machida. But yeah, Fresh Melon Juice says, possessions and money make you rich. I don't have that kind of richness. My richness is life forever, Bob Marley says. Well, there you go, right? And look, honestly, I love Bob Marley, but I think it's a little bit phony of him to say possessions and money is not what makes me rich. I mean, you are the biggest artist of all time. So I don't know, man. It's it's a little bit weird, but I get it. You know, it's a humble flex, right? You know, an example of a humble flex is, you know, let's say you go to, you know, a friend of yours' houses, right? You know, he's got a really big house, but then he'll say, oh, welcome to my humble abode. Like, what do you mean humble abode? You got like a big screen TV right here. You got pools outside. You got an elevator in your house. All of this, right? Biker Boy says, John Jones barely beat Reyes, and Poatan both are better than John Jones at 205. Well, the argument is that John Jones never lost, right? So to say that he's better, I think that there would be a lot of people that would vehemently disagree with you on that. Hate Love says, True Jordy is a tool. Even misfits YouTubers can do better interviews than this guy. I can't stand him. A lot of us never liked him. He just bores the fun out of everything he says. Well, here's the thing with True Jordy, right? You know how he came onto the scene? He made a video, by the way, a very grainy video. He didn't really intend to make anything out of it, talking about Nile Ranger, who I believe was a Newcastle player at the time, a team that True Jordy supports in his local town. So he made a video about that. It went viral, and then next thing you know, he became True Jordy and just started pumping out videos from there, and then, you know, and then the rest was history. So yeah, he was one of those guys that got lucky based on the position that he was in. Truth Seeker says, but maybe that's why Bob can speak on it. He loved both ways. Yeah, that's true. That's true, right? That's true. I think Wes Watson, and this is not a good example of this, right? But he said, the only way you can talk about if money doesn't really matter is if you have money. And I think he's right about that, right? Because I do have those sentiments. I'll tell you this, right? I do have the sentiments where I don't think money is everything, but I tell you what, it does help to know that you can, you know, have, you know, your things paid off, or have, you know, have security of some sort. Look, I'll tell you this. When I first moved to Sacramento, okay, before I, you know, got to move to, you know, the spot where I'm at right now, it was a lot simpler. Let me explain why. The gym that I trained at was down the street, and the mosque that I trained at was down the street. The only difference was that the apartment that I was staying at, it was a little bit ghetto, it was a little bit hood, but there was a mosque down the street, and there was the gym down the street, all within walking distance. You see what I'm saying? So when was life better? Was it better when I was living near a mosque and living near a gym? Or was it better when I'm living in a gated community to where now everything is further? Think about that, right? I mean, that's when you can really say that money doesn't matter. But yeah, said that all the money and fame isn't worth it. I'll tell you what, man, listen, I'm not going to lie to you. You know what I want out of this YouTube? This is no lie. A lot of people, a lot of YouTubers lie about this, right? Look, in all true to God honesty, yes, I want fame out of YouTube. That's it. I'm going to admit it. I want fame out of YouTube. I want to be famous. A lot of people are not going to admit that. They'll say, oh, you know what? I want to be the everybody guy. I want to be the guy that everybody can relate to. Yes, you can be that. But be honest. We're in this platform to get famous and to build off of whatever monetization that we can build out of that to market ourselves. That's really all there is to it. Are you part Indian? No, I'm not Indian at all, my man. Not Indian whatsoever. I'm part Arab and part Islander. So, yeah, you know, there's no Indian in me at all whatsoever. I mean, no disrespect to Indians or whatever. I'm just proud of what I am. And, you know, I would expect everybody to be proud of what they are as well. The race whisperer, as Marty likes to call me. You know what, Marty? What do you think, man? You think I should make a shirt, that race whisperer shirt? What do you think? Right on one side of the shirt, it will have a person dressed in corporate, you know, gear, you know, suits and everything. On the other side, it's, you know, it's like the ghetto hood side of me, you know what I mean? Like the corporate side and then the hood side, you know, simultaneously coming together. Nevon says, I think 2026 will be really good for WWE. TKO board are getting more involved in 2026. The Rock new storyline in early 2026. I can't wait. Yeah, you know what? I gotta see the WWE. Obviously, they have new storylines going on. I'd be curious to see how that goes. So, Biker Boy, do Indians and Muslims have beef? Yes, yes. Obviously, Pakistan versus India is a strong indicator of that. JD says half the face with Kamzat beard and the other half with a big mustache, and no beard. Huh. Well, look, there's a reason why the symbol on my podcast or on my channel has a dark face and a white face, no racial behind it, right? A dark face and a light face, because this is exactly, look, a lot of people don't like to admit it, but they got a dark side to them, okay? Now, I know it doesn't seem like I have a dark side because I come across as, very friendly, which I am. I come across as very relatable, which I can be to a certain extent, but make no mistake, I hide a lot of my, I hide a lot of my, a lot of the things that I can, be capable of. Can you do 50 push-ups? I can do 100 push-ups nonstop, my man. That's not even a problem. He says, get your merch up, bro. It could be good for you. The Race Whisperer. Okay, man. Yeah. Yeah, man. I'm going to have to give Marty credit to that, though, because to be honest with you, I would have never in a million years come up with calling myself the Race Whisperer, right? Like, I always wondered, like, you know what? Am I weird? Like, what is it about? I mean, in comparison to other people who are sort of like linear in understanding who they are, right? Like, okay, you meet a person who's hood, he comes from Compton, okay, he is what he is, he comes from a Crip neighborhood, okay, all of that makes sense. But then you put me into that mix, it's like, well, none of this makes sense. Like, how is it that most people, and for those of you that are in the gang world, you understand the vernaculars that I'm about to say right now, right? How is it that people jump off the porch, okay? And for those of you that understand what jumping off the porch means, right? How do you jump off the porch and then join the military, whereas in comparison to me, right? This is what normal people do. They jump off the porch from their neighborhood and then they go into the military. Me, I went into the military and then came to California and jumped off the porch. Okay, that's crazy stuff. So I didn't know I always wondered, like, this is weird, but I don't know how to describe it. I don't know how to articulate it, but that's really what it is that, yeah, it's what it is. I'm a race whisperer, according to, Marty. So, yeah, he says, I thought Indians were pro-Muslim and pro-Palestine. If they're Muslim, yes. If the Indian is Muslim, then yes. 4. Biker Boy says, Indians let me tick up food and I don't have the money to pay for it. Biker Boy says, I can do 100 push-ups nonstop as well. Let's go. All right, awesome. Trust me, I could do a little bit more than that, right? Push-ups is like the bare minimum of what I can do. Truth Seeker says Fresh was actually the one that started the race. Oh, was he? Okay, then yeah, all credit to him. But you know what? We'll just skip him because he's an anonymous covert operations agent. So we can't really give him any credit. So we'll just have you as the face of that credit. Okay, you know what I mean? Because we can't expose an active CIA agent at the moment. You a coffee drinker, boss? I am. Yes. Here it is right here with my Los Angeles coffee cup that I got from Universal Studios right here. And it's blue in the inside, which, is my favorite color. But yes, I am a coffee drinker. Are you a coffee drinker as well? I think most Arabs are coffee drinkers. In fact, we're the ones that I believe discovered coffee. And then the Pope, somewhere down the line, tried to ban coffee. So, yes, back in 01, yes, and in the mid-2000s, JD, yes. One of my favorite countries in the world, by the way. That and France, and yeah, I think I like England, France. I like some parts of the Norwegian countries. So Biker Boy says, hell yes, caffeine, energy drinks, espressos, coffee, love it. Hey Love says, but the Muslims and Indians in the UK are more together than Pakistans and Indians will ever be. Trust. Okay, I can see that. Yes. So I follow this fighter, right? He's a friend of mine. He's a Bellator fighter in the UK. His name is Omar Kayani, right? UBTK as they call him, right? And you know, he has a lot of Sikh friends. You know, I mean, he fights a lot of Sikhs as well. A lot of Sikhs in the EDL that he fights. But yeah, he you know, he's very well in tune with the Sikh community in that regard. So JD says, I'm glad you liked it, man. When I went to France, I thought it was, yeah, it was. And they don't like people that don't speak French. You know what? When I was in France in 2001, I was mistaken for a Mexican, right? I had this French guy, I believe he was like, I don't know what he was doing. I think he was like selling something on the street. So he goes up to me, he says, hey, where are you from? And I don't know why he did this bullfighting, you know, hand signals. He says, where are you from? Are you from Mexico? Right? Why did he do that? Why the hell did he do that? Why did he ask me if I'm Mexican and then ask me, are you from Mexico? Doing like the bullfighting you know, sign or whatever. You know, like when you're trying to like you know, when you're trying to like taunt a bull as a bullfighter. That's what I don't understand. Like, why did he ask me, hey, are you from Mexico? Why did he do that? French people are weird, bro. Hate Love says, I'm British. I love tea and crumpets. There you go, man. You know what? So I now understand why somebody like Fresh and somebody like Marty would call me a race whisperer, because if there's a couple of things I love about the British culture, right? Not only do I love your whole entire snobby royal family, aristocratic culture of the UK. I love all of that, right? Like one day I would love to dress in like, you know, a suit with, you know, the top hat, you know, walk like, you know, a distinguished English gentleman and all of that. I love all of that. But you know what? I also love the hood culture that you guys got going on in the UK. Top Boy is one of my favorite Netflix shows of all time. The Gentleman is one of my favorite gangster movies of all time. Not only that, how about Adolescence with Ashley Walters and what's that guy's name? The half black, half white dude that was in the movie This Is England. You know, I love all of that, right? So I love every aspect of British culture. I love the snobby side of British culture, but I also love the hood side of snobby British culture. Hence why I am called the Race Whisperer. All right, let's get back to this John Kavanaugh video going back from back in the days. So where is this video with John Kavanaugh? All right, here we go.
Everybody talks about it. Let's do it. Let's feel it, you know.
This was back in 2017, 1 year after John Kavanaugh had cornered Conor McGregor. November. Oh, wow. Okay, so this is November 2018. Okay, never mind. This was not even a year, just about less than a month after the fight.
I don't know if it's ego. I don't know what it is. I think it's curiosity.
So you know, they were asking, why did Khabib decide to walk him down rather than just you know, fight him from a distance? It's because he wanted to feel the clinch early. Biker Boy says UFC sucked back then. It's so elite right now. The sport is at an all-time high. I agree with that. Yes.
There sounds like a really interesting mentality there, because a lot of people's immediate reaction to anything painful is, I'm going to avoid that.
Right.
Even fighters are like, I'm going to try and avoid a punch.
Right.
Whereas Conor goes the other way and goes, let's try it.
But
see if I
his attitude is different to other fighters. Like I feel like George St. Pierre has made a great career out of putting the fight where he is going to win it.
And that is why George St. Pierre is not Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor even admits it, saying that, hey, you know what? I don't take these types of risks. I mean, other people don't take these types of risks. I do. It's called the McGregor risk. So there you go.
Guaranteed almost. Whereas Conor's attitude seems to be, let's take the bull by the horns.
Yeah.
Maybe not the best way to do it. I don't know. Would you change that if you...
I suppose if you look at his results he's gotten, it's, you know, two-weight world and two-weight champion in Cage Warriors and two-weight champion in UFC. He's done all right.
That's why people love him as well.
He's done all right.
He's not a...
Hate Love says, Biker Boy, to me, MMA has always been either really good or really bad. Just like all sports, right? Obviously, 2016 was a big year for MMA. And then next thing you know, Conor goes into boxing. Then 2018 was an even bigger year for MMA. And because of that fight. But then, you know, after that, it just started to get kind of stagnant. And yeah.
Fighting's a brave sport, but he is one of the, in my opinion, one of the braver guys for taking on the challenges he does.
Incredibly courageous. You know, I do joke about the Diaz fight, the rematch immediately, like, in the locker room screaming for it. And I'm like, did you not just see what happened? Like, there's handier fights out there. You know, he's a terrifying individual.
Could I get your opinion on one thing that, because he broke this down on Instagram and a lot of people felt like one of the lines was directed about, maybe about coaching, or, I don't know, you can shed some light on it. He said, I give my attacking, grappling, no respect to defense-minded lessons. Listen to nobody but yourself and your skill set. You are the master of your own universe. I am the master of this, and I must take my own advice. Was that about his game plan, or was that just general?
The honest answer is I don't know. I haven't actually spoken about that. I haven't really seen it.
So from what it seems like, Conor seems to have had a little bit of some issues with his coach there in terms of matters of opinion. But I'm going to finish off this video and then I'm going to recap everything that we talked about and call it a day.
Since the fight, to be honest, I've been just hit the ground running. You know, I've got so much on, and he's doing his whiskey tour of the world. It's actually sold out worldwide. It's crazy. Anyway.
Yeah, and now it's a complete S show of an alcohol, and nobody. I mean, I'm not an alcohol drinker. I can't speak on it, but you know, people are not going out of their way to go buy this product. I don't think.
Wait, I don't know. You're gonna ask me to get in the mind of another human, and I can't do it. Because he said what he said, and you'd have to get him as your next guest.
Fingers crossed, then.
You'll have to.
All right, so that's it, right? You know, we never know what is in the mind of Conor McGregor, but 7 years later, here we are, October 6th, 2025, from October 6th, 2018. There has been a lot of changes in the world of MMA. Obviously, Turki El-Sheikh is now a big player in the world of combat sports. That was during the same time when Deontay Wilder and Fury were set to fight on that very same November of 2018, to which during that month that I had highlighted in this book of notes that I have from 2018, that, yes, they were sort of doing a world tour at that. So what has changed? Obviously, Alex Pereira is now the new face of mixed martial arts. Being that he is a new face of mixed martial arts, he's a little bit different than that of Conor McGregor. And again, this kind of shows you that, hey, listen, you know what? In every generation and in every era, there comes a new different guy, new different personality, and a new different set of rules that is surrounding the whole entire game of MMA, if not all of combat sports. So what I will say out of that is, ever since Khabib won, it has been this aspect of Muslim domination in the world of MMA. Now, every time a Muslim loses, it seems to be a very big deal. Most times when Sergio Pettis wins, and by the way, shout out to Sergio Pettis, I got nothing against him. I've actually trained with Sergio Pettis back in the days when his brother used to come here at Team Alpha Male. And he's a good guy, got nothing against him. But whenever he wins or whenever he loses, it's not anything that you guys really bring about. But the fact that he beat a guy that trains with Khabib, all of a sudden it's big news. Alex Pereira, now the biggest star. He was the biggest star of MMA even before the Ankalaev fight. He loses to Ankalaev. Now he beats Ankalaev, and he's even bigger as a result of this win. Why? Because of the name that he beat, not just the name that he beat, but from the region that he's from. Hate Love says, Kyrie, you can't ignore the truth. We want a bonus round. I'm going to have to probably head out from this one, man. There's not going to be a bonus round on this one. I'm just recapping the last one. You think Gary can beat your boy Bella? Bella? Oh, you mean Bilal? You mean Bilal? Okay. Do I think that? No, I don't think that he can. I did mention this when I did react to the fight announcement. I think that JDM is just a better wrestler than Ian Gary, right? And I think that's going to show indicative of how Bilal Muhammad is going to take him down over and over and over again and possibly get a decision win on this one in Qatar. But Ian Gary is top level no matter what we think about him. And yeah, he says, a biker boy says Gary beats Bilal. Gary beats everyone not named Shafkat. Well, there you go. Maybe Bilal was going to beat Shafkat as well. We never know. But unfortunately, we weren't able to see that fight the way that we should have because of an injury from Bilal. But on any regard, guys, 7 years later, here we are, right? Great transition in the sport of MMA, new evolution of the sport from the production all the way to its new financiers and also the new people that are involved. Remember, when this fight happened, UFC was in Fox Sports, right? And then in 2019, they transferred over into ESPN, and now here we are in the era of Paramount in which we're going to watch the fight be held at the White House. Never before seen, right? So we're just constantly breaking records every year and just constantly doing new stuff every year. Bubba Angel says, Jiri is getting that belt and kicking Ank, plus Alex is out of the division. What do you mean? You mean that he's going to go and fight Tom Aspinall? But on any regard, Biker Boy says Tom versus Poatan super fight at heavyweight. Yes, it should be a White House fight. JD says, I'm on a holiday from Wednesday, but I'll try to get in as many lives as possible. Another great one, Kyrie. I appreciate you, my man. Take care. Thank you. Biker Boy says, the winner is the face of the UFC. There you go, right? Tom Aspinall versus, but then again, that would have to be John Jones versus, I don't know, but I would think it would be a much more compelling matchup with Tom versus Alex, I think. Biker says, yeah, that gets me hyped. I want to see that fight. When is your training arc? When is your training arc? When is I don't understand the question, but yeah, Alex is losing so fast. Okay. All right, so there we have it, right? A little bit of a reaction from Alex Pereira's win 7 years later after the biggest pay-per-view of all time, which is Khabib and Conor McGregor. When will you begin to train MMA? Oh, okay, yeah. I'm actually going to train right now, but yeah, this one won't be on live. So with that in mind, I will see you guys on the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe and check out my new videos that I have out right now. Reaction to the Alex Pereira win. Will he become a 3-weight world champion? We shall see. Go watch the video, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm out.